Hold on a second.
That's fine. No, no, no. Looks very bright out there in Nebraska.
Yeah, I can probably shine it up. I'm actually on my way to Boston, so looking forward to doing what I can to help you folks there in Vermont.
Okay, well, we will be happy to hear whatever you have to say, if you want to jump in.
Okay, so I was involved with the first right to repair bill for agriculture in 2015 in Nebraska. We've had 3 bills get introduced. The last one is a priority bill. It actually made it to the floor for a vote and it got filibustered this past April.
I'm sorry, I'm just going to jump in. Just for official records, could you introduce yourself, give us your name and your affiliation?
My name is Kevin Kenny, and I am a right to repair advocate from Nebraska. I'm a farmer. And I also have a patent on clean diesel emission systems, which is one of the biggest issues we have in agriculture on repair. And I sent some information into the committee on the rule that the Clean Air Act has. It says that their manufacturers have to allow anybody to have the right tools and ability and access to repair their emission system. So basically the status quo, it's an illegal scenario that these ag manufacturers are living under. And it fuels lack of competition, and it's an inherent monopolization in agriculture. And kindly, but very bluntly put, you folks in the East Coast are going to see either a corporate farm or a private farm in the future. And this legislation is very important on a national level. And it has to be done on a state level, I've been told. And the only way to have automobile and a fair, because one of your fellow eastern states called Massachusetts, finally remind the Farm Bureau gentlemen in the room, the Farm Bureau delegates in Nebraska voted 176-1 in favor of right to repair legislation, not a memorandum that has no enforceability and doesn't even mention the dealers who have the contact point with the farmers. I can't even buy a simple moisture meter from my local dealer. Farmers in Nebraska are afraid to step forward. We're being bullied. We're being intimidated. And this is going to have ripple effects to the grocery store if it's not already. We can't let one company be the Facebook of agriculture. There has to be competition. And we're in jail right now. And we basically need to jailbreak the tractor. We need to get out. And that starts with repair legislation, which fuels all types of innovative possibilities. There's no competition right now. We're locked out. I guess that's my message, and I'll answer anybody's question if they'd like.
Thank you, Kevin. We briefly lost the signal there, and maybe it'd be better to turn off your video because I know that can help with the audio.
Okay, hold on a second.
Yeah, and then while you're doing that, let's see if there are any questions in the committee. Well, no? Hey, well, yeah, Representative O'Brien.
Mr. Kenny, so we've heard in Vermont anyway that John Deere dealerships through John Deere will sell you a customer service kit package, say. They cost something, somewhere $3,000. I think we've heard up to $7,000. And I guess I'm asking, is that something that farmers in Nebraska take advantage of? If you've got a combine, to spend $3,000 more to potentially fix it or have access to fix it. Is it prohibitive?
To be very honest, sometimes the reality of the situation is a little bit shocking. We've had to resort to gray market software. And in a way, we're evolving into these people out in Havana, Cuba, trying to keep these old cars running. Picking up parts here and there, we're robbing them. But our downside is we can't fix the new stuff. So increasingly, there's a monopoly on repair, and it gets more complex and interwoven with software interactions with every type of piece of equipment on every new model year. For example, combine has 45 controllers on. Each one of those controllers is a computer. A tractor has 30. So if you can't have access to simple software patches or simple repair capabilities, this software that they're offering to farmers is customer level service advisor. It's not dealer level service advisor. There's a big difference in that. And that's not even a scenario that the automobile industry lives under because of the Massachusetts repair bill. They passed a bill that made equality. And you folks in the room have a car, you can take it down to Midas. Your guy in the local corner, you probably can get software to fix it. We can't do that in agriculture. No matter what the lobbyists say, we're locked out. And that's a unanimous consensus that everybody knows out here.
Representative Lipton.
Yeah, Kevin, thank you. I've just got, for my clarification, are you an inventor or a manufacturer of a product, or are you a farmer, or you're both?
I'm about half both. How's that?
Well, we know about wearing many hats here.
I have a degree in ag engineering that's probably older than some of the furniture in the Vermont legislature. Back then, we didn't have computers, but we had to know how to fix things. And they taught that on a curriculum basis. Today, the same college, the University of Nebraska's College of Ag Engineering, which is the famous tractor test laboratory for the international testing of tractors, they don't mention the word service advisor, which is the repair software we're fighting for. I don't find that as a coincidence. I find that as a huge problem. And we need to bring the awareness to you folks at the legislature that this is worse than a little paper cut on your finger. This is going to transform agriculture if we can't get competition. You folks can drop a Linux or an Android program on any of your computers or devices. We can't do that in agriculture. We don't have that option. We're stuck with the Windows scenario, with whatever the manufacturer out, and then out on repair. Who gets in and how eloquently they can speak on the subject, we're locked out. And it's going to stay that way until there's legislation, not a unenforceable memorandum that doesn't even include the people selling the parts, which are the dealers.
Thank you.
Kevin, I think I'm going to suggest you turn off your video again because we had another issue there. I think we got the gist of your answer, though. Thank you. I'm wondering, could you say a little bit more about the difference, as you understand it, between the product, the service advisory product that is available for sale to the public, and then what a dealer might have?
Okay, so the two main points are very easy to answer, and they're the biggest points. I contacted a dealer directly when this was announced. He said that I could not have software flash files to fix any of the controllers or reflash the ECU back to normal. I think one of you folks testified 20 minutes ago that the dealer came out to reflash an emission system, okay? Well, even if you had the customer level service advisor sitting in the tractor cab, you couldn't even do that according to this technician. And he was the top service manager of the largest dealership in eastern Nebraska. The other thing is customer level service advisor doesn't give you access to DTAC. That's Dealer Technical Assistance Center. That's the go-to online library for every trained John Deere technician. So immediately, the day that an employee quits his job at John Deere, he loses access to that library because the dealer pulls his user ID and password. I know this sounds oversimplified, but if you folks would just give us a mandate to give us a user ID and password that any 19-year-old technician could get, that's all we need. Because there's all kinds of trained technicians. They walked away from the job for one reason or the other. But now they're out in the street. They can't perform their craft they've been trained in. And the farmer doesn't get the upside of the competition. That's where we're at right now with Right to Repair. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors, but the fact is we're locked out, and it's all based on online software availability. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Thank you. All right, I don't see any other questions, so we'll let you go.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you, Kevin.
Safe travel.
Yeah. So let's stay put for a moment and just see what people's thoughts are on what we've heard, if anything, just any sort of immediate feedback. Last couple of witnesses' comments. We may have somebody coming in from Legislative Council. I do not want to have the day run long today. It's not my intent. We will need to continue working on the bill in the line by line way before we can make any decisions. So that's probably not going to happen today. I don't know that we might have one witness who had asked to testify who couldn't come in this week, but might be available next week. And I guess I would ask you to think about if there's anybody else you'd like to hear from, anybody, any specific person or a kind of person. We'll continue next week going through the language of the bill and with somebody from Legislative Council and see if we can come up with a version that we like, and then we'll see where we are and vote it out if we have a bill that we like.
Good.
I mean, I will say the one thing I think that we all agree on is that we haven't had enough time to thoroughly look at the bill. So that's.
I have to say that feels like it's changing for me.
I'm sorry?
I feel like that's changing. I mean, I'm not sure unless we completely rewrite the bill. And I guess I'm also a little confused how we can work on it next week when it's crossover today. So I'm a little hazy on that.
So we can, the fact that it's crossover today doesn't mean that we can't work on it next week. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it won't go to the Senate. It will go to the Senate, and then the Senate has its rules, and those rules can be adjusted if they want to.
And you said somebody from legal counsel. That means that David is out of the picture.
No, it might be David. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. Mike.
I just wanted to. I had a thought that I wanted to say after our last witness, and I just want to sort of put it out there before I lose the thread.
Please do,
It's just that it was a nice. Sorry, not our last witness, but the last one before we took a break from the CBD farm. It really sort of like connected dots for me that I had been sort of talking about more theoretically early on in this conversation. I was happy to hear it in sort of real life, real world activity, which is that this kind of legislation breeds innovation, right? It breeds like creative coming together, competition. All those things are good. They help move industries forward. They help move, farmers, consumers, all those things. It's helpful to have innovative concepts. And when there's not the ability for people to innovate or be creative or come together to, form, like we were talking about, cooperatives around repair, or, whether or not this bill speaks specifically to the machines that he was talking about, perhaps even more importantly, is the idea that there's not even a concept of a shop that would work on those machines here, because there's no opportunity for those people to have those businesses to innovate in that way. So I think that's a really important thing not to lose sight of, is like there are the details in the bill and the specifics that it would shift, and there's also the sort of culture that moving in this direction would breed.
Dave.
Yeah, I think what you're describing is the antithesis of a monopoly. And that's exactly this product, this diagnostic product is a monopoly. It's a derivative of the tractor. These things have been taken apart and now sold off without any competition. There's no competition for that diagnostic tool. and it is a monopoly, and they can ask whatever product price they want for that product. And the customer would have no recourse, basically, in that situation. I mean, $7,000 is, so after Zach gave testimony today, I think this email was sent to you. He was immediately approached by John Deere and offered the diagnostic tools that he would like for $7,000. I mean, that's an incredible amount of money for something that probably costs John Deere $300 to produce. I mean, that's a total guess, but I mean, that's.
It would be interesting to know what they charge their authorized dealers for that.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
So let's get
Testifying.
To your scenario, I think that's intelligent. There is a lot of language in this bill that, from our counsel's perspective, that I think I would love to have clarified more. I have found testimony today very compelling, and it's made me leaning to that this actually can have a value to Vermont, to small farmers and forest practitioners. But I think if we wait until next week, it isn't changing anything substantially. And it would have been, Henry, myself, whoever asked Zach, if you did perhaps, or Heather, if he's asked for that equipment, diagnostic equipment, and can he purchase it, and what is the cost of it? And I reiterated that would be good information for us to know, and he said he would get that to us. So, I think I'd be more comfortable with a few of those questions answered to move on that.
I'd also like to know, one thing this guy from Nebraska said that I thought was interesting is that what they're getting isn't the full ride. It's like they're getting half of a car rather than the whole thing. They're not getting the full diagnostic kit when they get it. So it feels a little disingenuous, I think, for them to say, no, you can get it, but they actually, boots on the ground is telling us, no, actually, we can't get the full thing. So I'd be curious to see what Zach was offered, and if it was the full diagnostic that like a Deere technician would be offered, or if it was more the customer.
And I think
version.
Paul from Longview, AKA Rodney, implied the same thing. So I think a little clarification would be helpful on that.
Yeah, I think clarification would also be helpful, perhaps for some of us, on what the MOU is making available to Zach and whoever else. I mean, whatever the price is, what is that product the off-the-shelf product, or is it the one that the authorized dealers have access to?
I just asked the John Deere lobbyist that, as far as
Yeah.
why would there be an MOU if everybody has access? It's like with an MOU, we're going to give you access to stuff you already have access to. It doesn't make sense. So it has to be something different, right? Or
I think, I'm not sure.
no, or they're just, speaking of tautology, right? It's like
Right.
we're offering you something we already do. And also to ask them about that very thing of just, on camera is there the dealer version, and is there the consumer version?
Yeah. Mike?
I was just gonna sort of respond to your point that, maybe that would be interesting to know what's being offered in the MOU. But I think also there's the conversation about, is an MOU what we want to rely on in this case, or are we sort of in the business of making laws about things that we think are important?
I think I'm also concerned with the approach of, well, is it for sale? Yes, it is. then okay, then it's not anything that we need a law for. I would still go back to, it's a product being offered by a single dealer. There's no competitor. No matter whether it's for sale or not, the issue of it being a monopoly is problematic.
John?
I mean, I think it's also an opportunity in some ways, like this is how you'd hope capitalism would work, is that the little small Rodney actually has great support, or access, so you can do your own fixes.
Mhm.
And before long, people are like, I'm gonna buy a Rodney because John Deere are not helpful at all, don't care about me, because they only care about, you
Yeah,
know,
that's an opportunity for
large
business.
companies
Yeah.
who just build this stuff out, they don't really care. You can imagine like Pike or V-Trans, you know, being a customer of Cat or John Deere, a lot different than Ted Lipsky, Logger.
Mhm.
Rodney?
That's an understatement.
I haven't heard anybody that's really been interested in learning how much these manufacturers have to invest to make these pieces of equipment meet the EPA requirements, meet the durability requirements, meet the safety requirements. And it's like a drug company, when they, come up with a new drug, you have to buy it from the person that made it until they get their money back, and then it may go generic. I think it's a similar idea with these manufacturers. I mean, they've had to invest a lot of money in meeting the requirements in this ban, and it sounds like we just want them to give it away to third party vendors to be able to produce it cheaper. Competition. I just don't get it. I just don't see where that's right.
Mike?
So I think we're not asking them, again, to give it away. I think we're asking them to sell it for a fair price. I think also, very good point about how a drug is offered as a generic. There's no such system here. And then third, I would say, sure, I would be interested in hearing how much they invest in creating these systems and making sure they meet emissions, all of that. And I'd also sort of in tandem be interested in hearing about their annual profits and the growth of those profits over the course of time.
All that would be interesting. I'm not sure that it's within the scope of the bill that we've got in front of us, but Dave, did you?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to acknowledge that I actually looked up the stock information on Deere Company, and they've got a market cap of, if I'm running off of memory here, $120 billion a year, and all their profit information is available publicly. They're a publicly traded company. They're extremely profitable. They're not like a farmer. They're not like us. It's a different scale. I think you're applying your own personal experience to another company that doesn't represent your experience. It's a different animal altogether. I mean, I have sympathy for the little guy. I have less for the big guy. That's just my opinion,
So I want to try to just keep the committee's work focused on the bill and understanding the bill, not inject personality too much.
Of course.
So we have different perspectives. I don't think anybody disputes that. So happy to hear people's perspectives, but let's limit it to our own perspectives and not necessarily our perspectives on your perspective.
Well, that's not fun for Friday. No. I just sent to Laura, I found the MOU between the Farm Bureau and John Deere.
On that page.
It's on our page already?
Yeah.
All right.
which I didn't know yesterday either. So, and
It doesn't say what level of diagnostic access they're giving them, though. It doesn't. They're sort of dancing around that, so I can't tell. Anyway.
I think just reading over your shoulder, it says service advisor, that the name of that program. So I think it would be valuable to sort of ask them directly, are there multiple products here? Is there something that the dealers are getting and something else that you're offering into this?
Yeah, and I think to your point, and my point was, I think it would be interesting to know, it doesn't necessarily impact how we proceed with, what's in the bill. But I think it illustrates how we've had some conversations where we had less information earlier in the week than we do now. And there's some clarity on a few things that maybe weren't clear earlier, just about what the landscape is out there. Yeah, John.
And similar to that, we just heard that essentially there's a hotline that if you're a dealer who can't work through this software fix, you have access to probably OEM people who know even more.
Yeah.
And for sure, consumers don't have user or password to access Siri, John Deere Siri.
Yep. Anybody else? Okay. Well, we might be visited by David in a few minutes, but I'm thinking even if we are at this point, maybe it's better to say we'll have you back in next week, and we'll pick up there. I mean, we might make some progress today, but I'm thinking maybe we should just leave it for now. We have some time that I would like to look at the bills that are up on the wall so that we can set some priorities for next week and what else we're gonna pick up. Done.
Once crossover sort of over, would someone like David Hall take a go at rewriting this bill, that he feels like he can answer these questions we keep asking him that he doesn't know the answer to? I mean, I would love to sort of pair up this version of the bill and have something that this committee feels is just a better written bill.
Yeah, so that
Legislative council.
right, yeah, that might be possible. I think that we may want to, before we do that, finish going through the bill. And may find that actually, there's some problematic language we've already identified. There may be some more. We can get, and I think David may be the first to admit, he's maybe not the person in the office who has the knowledge of intellectual property law. So maybe there's somebody else who can come in and just help us with that. But I think, I'm not sure we need to toss it all out and start over again.
Yeah.
But I think there is a way forward with continuing through the bill. Let's see where we are, and then if I don't think it'll necessarily mean we need to start from scratch.
Right.
However, it's not to say that anyone among the 150 of us can't go to Ledge Council this afternoon and ask them to help write a bill. Right.
Yeah, I just wanted to, before we were to go down the road of sort of throwing it out and coming up with a new bill, point toward the helpfulness of perhaps hearing from additional legal voices and specifically to draw people's attention, because I don't know if there's a sort of a flood of documents yesterday. I don't know if everybody saw the sort of legal rebuttals that were sent to us, specifically regarding the constitutional issues he sees. What perhaps other attorneys who work in this view differently. And so those are on our page. It was helpful for me to sort of read through them and understand that there are sort of different perspectives on these things, of course.
Yeah.
That was under yesterday's date.
So,
Yep, we got his email.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I think it was an email that came in yesterday, so I don't know where it would be. put.
A. Gordon Byrne.
David.
Yeah, so what if we were to invite the Colorado Attorney General to come and give testimony on Zoom regarding their bill, R2R? Oh, right to repair, sorry.
Yeah.
But they have passed a bill and they may have a perspective. we don't.
Different MOU.
Is that the wheelchair?
Yeah,
Oh,
what would two? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should be comfortable that something we put out there is not on its face unconstitutional or clearly gonna have problems. I think we should have, we want to have that comfort level. We may find that we don't need to go quite that far in order to get that. And if you haven't looked at some of the comments that we got yesterday, I would definitely take a look at that.
And also what David Hull was bringing up, if we passed this bill at the moment and it was essentially completely ineffective because OEMs are all out of state and somehow there's that compelling out of state or out of country OEMs to do our bidding. If that's a big problem, like why are we going to this problem?
Right.
All this work.
Yeah. Okay, so everybody can stretch for a minute if you want, but then take a look at the board and make sure you're relatively familiar with what's there.
you guys can see from far.
Oh, I'm right here, I can see. On the other website too.
Yeah, we can keep going.
do they go to an art museum?
Yeah.
You guys, you can find out.
Can we go to Arby's? I'm like hearing too.
No, I said I feel like we're at an art museum.
Oh.
Like the Mona Lisa.
It's spectacular. H3.
At an Arby's, we're at an Arby's.
I'm gonna buy that one.
So pick your top three. Pick your top three and then,
So I'm gonna pick that one.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea.
pick your top three and write them down. I don't think we'll put little stickies on the board, but.
So interesting. Your bill is interesting too. Like, where did that come from?
Rabies vaccine.
Yeah, for that.
The little hybrid lobby got to.
That'll happen.
There it is.
They're relentless. They hired
You're outside, they'll
Down
bite you.
Franklin, right.
Looks like there's like three that have to do with outdoor recreation.
Yep.
And then
Are they all kind of the same subject matter?
I think they might go well together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in fact, they have been introduced together too, I believe.
Okay, yeah. Oh, separately?
467 is an omnibus that involves a lot of government, yeah.
What about 310? Has that been introduced anywhere?
Here,
That Lipsky bill?
You got to introduce it. Where was your,
I was paid a lot of money to endorse that.
where was your VHCV one? Fully funded.
That's already gone out. That went to some.
Okay.
I think that went
Let's tell them
straight to,
we don't need to come.
Ways and Means.
Right.
One of those money.
You gonna do a doodle poll for this?
Oh, speaking of doodle
We don't do
polls,
well with doodle polls.
Yeah.
we only do well with doodle polls if everyone actually fills it out. So this is the second time we've tried it and I'm now throwing up my hands because I'm not chasing everybody down.
True.
So if no one wants to get together, that is on you guys.
Tractor. Indoors, outdoor recreation.
We've only ever had half the people respond anyway, so.
What did you say, Josie?
Oh, just knowing, we only have half the people responding to the doodle poll for the second time.
Roll of toilet paper would be worth.
So maybe we just decide after one hard day, we just go have a drink together and leave it at that.
Yeah.
Somebody
Or have
else
a
had another thought too.
Or have a picnic at somebody's farm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one seems to want to commit to anything, so I'm just,
No, that's the end of it.
I am officially done doodling.
That guy's on the road to Boston. Was he in Nebraska or was he in
Pulled
Pennsylvania?
over on the turnpike.
I really hope he wasn't driving. He didn't look like he was driving.
No, he pulled over.
I don't move myself.
Yeah.
That was the wind.
That could be.
Okay, so how can we do this? We can go by number or we can just go around. Well, we'll just go by the order that they're up in. So 81, we'll leave out.
Yeah, we'll put that on the bottom.
So 85, anybody have 85?
Bingo. Yeah.
Okay,
So I would just, I guess I would have interest in taking up something in the outdoor recreation,
Yep.
the combination of outdoor recreation stuff we have up there, and I think it would be worth sort of looking at the individual and looking at the one that might put some of them together and sort of just seeing what.
Okay, yeah.
Consolidation.
And I will say, I think that no matter what comes out at the top of the list here, we should be able to get before the end of the session, some time for all of them. So this is really a question next week. What are we going to start with? Okay. Let's see, 128.
Yeah, that looks interesting to me.
Vote for 128. Okay.
Is that kind of
Does any-
Act 250?
Yeah, that has some
More about it. It's an
activity. So that's got accessory on-farm businesses. A couple of Act 250 related things, so,
Okay.
okay. Did you write it down?
Is this 128? I thought,
28,
I
yes,
thought that was part of the rural omnibus bill.
it is.
Okay,
So is, I think 81 that we're working on.
okay.
All right, so now I'm hearing a few more votes for 128, okay. 131, and that's one of those that's part of a package maybe. Okay. 167. Okay. 274.
Yes.
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 Okay. Resounding.
You hired a great lobbyist.
How many yeses were there? Okay, so all of them.
All right, you know,
310.
Can that be,
I'm gonna support that.
Okay.
Is that included in the outdoor recreation? I mean, is that the same? Is that, or is that different?
I think, yeah,
So the fund is, the Green Mountain Recreation Fund is in 467.
310 is the collaborative.
Yeah, sorry.
Who is the collaborative?
The VORAC is in. So, 310. So 310,
Is Vorak?
131. And I thought there were I thought it was three, but just quickly scrolling through those, the two that jump out.
Okay.
Yeah, 467, yeah.
Okay.
You know, just lobby wise as far as impact on our economy, these outdoor recreation trail system, whether it's in the NEK, Bennington County, and anywhere in between, is having a giant impact on, less on the environment than it is on the economy.
Yep. Okay, let's see.
It's like an easy.
So 368.
yes.
Okay.
Which is one with about wolf derivative. I want to vote
That's 410.
For fun.
That's next.
No, it's of an interest.
Wait, but pay attention, the
You don't like our bill, but you like.
Let me get a hand count on 368 here.
I don't remember how many, but
Hang out for
I think this is my second if we haven't.
This-
done it yet. That's great.
Just the three.
disadvantaged farmers,
Okay,
new farmers, veteran farmers.
okay.
All farmers just.
And I'm actually gonna skip
Some are more disadvantaged, some.
despite the,
The overwhelming.
Support.
yeah, it's not as exciting as, 420.
I did, it was one of my votes.
Okay, 420, would you like to tell us what that is?
Yeah, well, I can read it to you, but also it's looking to encourage the Agency of Agriculture to figure out ways to support farmers in year-round agricultural practices, acknowledging that Vermont has a really challenging climate, but knowing that we're trying to reach our own regional food security. And this would help figure out what are the current barriers, whether financial or climate, and how we can work to mitigate those for a more secure food system locally.
And
You're welcome.
that's still three,
Well said.
that's still 368?
No, that's 420.
368.
420, okay.
Helping new farmers.
It's indoor, I want the door.
Get it, you can get it on your thing.
Yeah, I know, but I'm
Then you can actually read the bill.
So Heather likes this 420. Not a cannabis bill, but it could be, actually. So
Yeah, Michael Grady must be, why do I get 420s every year? Yeah.
who else likes this one? Maybe?
It's a short form, so there's a lot of space to
Okay.
develop it.
Right.
Yeah.
Can we go back? Did we take a real vote on 368? I'm just,
I got 4 hands.
4, okay.
And I think I got yours. 457.
Oh, yeah, I like that one.
I already used all my votes.
Okay.
It's down to.
I'm a rule follower.
How many for 457 too? Okay. And
That's super
then
interesting.
467.
Isn't 467 part of another bigger bill?
467 is the bigger bill.
Oh, okay.
What
So
is,
467 includes at least 131 and 310. And I thought one other that I can't find while I'm quickly scrolling.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
467.
So did 460, with 467, anybody's top 3?
I think
Yeah.
it's a combination.
I guess I don't have a real, in terms of this, if I can explain my vote.
Frequent and brief.
I haven't written this down, but I guess I don't have a really strong, I guess I don't have a really strong preference between taking up 467 or having a conversation about whether we would prefer to take up either 131 or 310 if there's, but I would just like to take up one of those
Yeah.
sort of big outdoor rec.
Okay.
bills, because it just seems like a place we haven't gone.
So the top vote getter was 274. And one thing we already talked about this was we've got several people reporting bills next week. And whoever, I don't want to have that 274 be presented by somebody who's also worried about, unless you're comfortable doing that. So who is the sponsor of 274?
Henry.
Henry, okay. And Henry, you've got a report.
Yeah, I'm good with whatever. I mean, we can,
Okay.
I don't put much thought into anything, so it's not.
Okay, okay.
It's not gonna overload.
Fair to yourself.
What are you
Okay.
considering?
well, you got Rodney there. Karen.
When's Universal School Meals gonna get presented, do you think?
No earlier than Wednesday.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so 270, Universal School Meals is an appropriations that if they voted out today, it would go to the notice calendar Tuesday and then Wednesday. Yep.
Who's gonna vote it out?
It's an appropriations, so they have to vote it out before, or they have to recommend it, or not. So should we plan on that then for when we're building our calendar for our agenda for next week for Tuesday?
Yep.
Sounds good.
And it'll be Tuesday afternoon. And I do imagine that we'll finally have some longer floor sessions next week. So it probably won't be, before lunch. All right, good. We'll slot that in. And then I think maybe we'll plan on that between that and walking through 81 tomorrow. I think maybe that'll cover Tuesday. So we'll do that. And then for our second, for whatever the next opportunity is to take up, we had 368 had quite a few votes, and then the rec bills had also quite a few votes. So any strong preferences for which way we go there? Look at the rec bills.
Can we kind of do them all together?
Yeah, why don't I do that?
Rec day, yeah.
Like it might be good. Yeah. And nobody's vote is influenced by yesterday's,
The free ice cream.
yeah.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
If I had to
John
testify on the
Deere ice
road.
cream would be a different story.
Yeah, you said it.
So do we have to declare the ice cream and some disclosure?
I think so.
More than a dollar's worth,
As long as we're fessing up right here, I think that's probably,
some wicked good vanilla.
yeah. Okay. All right, good. Well, so I think we have a game plan there, and we'll, as I said, look at all of them at some point before the end of the session. And some of them we might not dig into too much, but we'll be able to do it in January if we, don't have a chance to really spend the time on it. Good. All right. Well, any other final thoughts? Oh, yeah. 126. We haven't forgotten about that. So maybe some of you have. So
Yeah, I have.
yeah. So yeah. So there have been, I think, some helpful, productive conversations taking place outside of the committee room between the advocates on one side or the other of that's probably not the best way to put it. From different parties with interests that aren't always aligned, seeing whether they can find some common interest, and so we had sort of a first crack at that when I guess it was Tuesday afternoon when Ed Larson was in with Sam. Yeah. And so they've all been working, I think, hard to try and come up with something that they were comfortable with. And I've been talking with the Environment and Energy Committee, and we'll have more conversation over the weekend. And ideally, we'll be back when we're back on Tuesday, asking anybody in this room who's interested in signing on to whatever might come out of those conversations. So just that'll be another thing for Tuesday, and that might be sometimes. I don't know whether where that bill is at the moment, how quickly it might come out, but you'll see, and those who've been around have seen times where committees have to come off the floor to go into the committee room to vote on an amendment to something. So if that happens, don't be surprised, and not all that unusual. We also may get an amendment to I don't think that anybody's going to try to amend the miscellaneous ag bill, but there can be amendments offered to any bills at any point. So we may, in fact, get an amendment for one of the other bills that we're going to be presenting next week. So we may come back to hear those amendments, and then we would take a vote on that. So just.
Can you just walk us through who is presenting school meals, and are we going to break it down into parts or, different sections for different reporters, or how do you see that working?
You're reporting all of it. Not funny. I'm not the comedian, and there are others.
It's not funny now, but
You can turn it in. Yeah. And that was great, by the way, yesterday.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was fun. I enjoyed it.
My wife texted me about it this morning. Somebody sent it to her. So.
Oh my God.
So Esme is going to be the lead reporter. She is the lead reporter. And then Mike will be reporting part of it. And they're working on it, so I'm not exactly sure who's doing what. But
Good.
so that's that bill. And then I think we know Henry is doing miscellaneous bill. Heather's doing 205.
Mine is 205 gonna be reported.
Well, let's see, did that go to?
It's an appropriations and they've yet to call me in.
Okay.
Unless they called you in, but,
Oh.
okay.
And mine's in Ways and Means.
They've already sent it along.
They have,
Yep.
so it should be Wednesday?
I
Or,
think it has to go to approach too.
oh, okay.
So, yeah, it won't be Tuesday. So I'll keep an eye on those, all of those, and you can check too. You can check the calendar when it comes out. It'll probably be kind of late today.
Yeah.
Just to see if it's on notice.
Question.
Sorry, did you have a question?
I just wanted to make sure I could get witness lists if there were any to the reporters.
Gotcha.
sometime. I don't believe there's witnesses for either of these bills, but there might be.
Ledge Council,
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
and then whoever.
205, the
The
agency.
agency,
Okay.
yeah,
Then I'll make sure I get that to you
Yes,
before you.
yeah.
And the fair field days.
Oh, right,
Right.
yeah.
Who is dialoguing with Committee 126, Bill, with environment and energy? Or just yourself,
Yeah.
not Sam or?
No, they will have hopefully already reached a point where they're good with it. And then we're taking it from there.
Who is they?
Sam,
Sam and
Yeah.
Ed or?
Yeah. and others who they might be talking to. And you can check. Check on that.
And has the chairman been around this week?
You know. But I've been in the loop, but not.
So they still have possession of it, so if they wanted to add amendments,
Yeah.
changes, they could do it.
Yes, yeah. Of so-called friendly amendment.
Right.
Okay. All right, good. Well, I don't think we need to linger any longer, so thank you. Appreciate everybody's work on what we've been doing this week, and we'll have a long week next week. It'll be some long days, as Thursday told us yesterday.
That's what everyone keeps telling me. I'm just repeating what I'm hearing.
Does anyone want this pin? In case you don't notice, I've gotten rid of all my recycling that's been piling up
One of
on
those
my
things at
desk.
home too. I don't remember where it came from.
Ross, they gave me one.
126 is in the pros, right? I
Yeah,
think, yeah, yeah.
yes, that's where it has been for a while. Yeah, and